Naruto shadow clone, nine-tail cloak. Hit you with that eternal Mangekyo float. Feel like Itachi cause I've been sick to the bone. Okay, I'm a Terasu, go.
Naruto feel like Hokage. Check a level on Kisame. Mangekyo.
Hello everyone, Kaiser here, and today I'm back with a new action figure comparison video, and I'm also back with Ace Metaphor, who you might know from our Sasuke comparison video. Introduce yourself.
What up? It's me. It is indeed the Ace Metaphor, back for more.
And today we'll be looking at 3, but technically 5, Naruto figures from SH Figuarts. And I'm pretty sure you can tell why, since Naruto has seemed to make a resurgence in terms of SH Figuarts, but I'm pretty sure you all know that. So for today, we will be looking at the first release of Naruto in SH Figuarts, the second release, that being Best Selection, Sage Mode, and Sage Mode Advance, since they're all pretty much the same figure, and the most recent 3.0 from SH Figuarts. So with that, let's get into it. First up is Sculpting and Painting, and when it comes to the first SH Figuarts Naruto figure, it's kind of outdated when we look at the more recent figures. Not to say that it's bad, I definitely think that the sculpting on the clothes look good. It does fit Naruto's somewhat baggy look, but when it comes to the face and the hair, it doesn't quite match up. To me at least, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can agree, it doesn't quite look like Naruto. The eyes seem a bit too small, they seem kind of lifeless, and the hair also looks too dull. And that's kind of the running theme with this figure. The colors, they just don't really fit Naruto, and that is seen pretty well on the jacket. The orange is just very dull.
It's super dull, yeah.
And I know in some, illustrations, his jacket will have a different shade of orange, but it's usually a bright orange, and I think that's just kind of a staple of how Naruto looks. Another thing that doesn't quite gel with me is the shoulders. I'll be talking about those more in the articulation, but the way they're sculpted in order to, have that articulation with the butterfly joint, it makes it jut out, bulge out a bit, and it makes the shoulders look a bit too big. Other than that, I'd say it still looks pretty good for a Naruto figure, but it doesn't quite match up with the 2 other figures, one of them being the Best Selection / Sage Mode variants. And I do like that they kind of streamlined some of the problems that the first release had. The colors are fixed and the sculpting is still quite good, but for me at least, I think that the clothes don't quite look as baggy, and that's kind of something I recognize about Naruto's outfit. They look a bit too form-fitting, and again, something I'll talk about in articulation. Since they focus a bit more on the sculpting, it also hinders the articulation quite a bit, which for a Naruto / ninja character doesn't work quite as well. But one thing I will give it is the head sculpt. It definitely looks a lot better than the first Naruto figure, but that only really counts for the Sage Mode Advance and Best Selection. When you're talking about the first Sage Mode, the eyes, as Ace said, look a bit dead, and they don't quite fit with how Naruto's Sage Mode form looks. Again, this is something that they fixed with the Sage Mode Advance, and if you're getting confused by these terminologies, I'll be sure to put up pictures. But in that case, you already have that Sage Mode figure, so it kind of feels like a waste of money.
Yeah, I don't know, the first figure, like you said, the colors feel washed out. It feels dull, which is unfortunate. We were talking about it before, and Naruto, when he was younger, it was a very bright orange, but even his Shippuden uniform, it's brighter than this. They missed the mark on the color there. Like you said, the face just feels off. I don't know. Personally, I have difficulty even putting a finger on what it is, but it just doesn't. If I saw just this face, I don't know that I would recognize it as Naruto. It would kind of come across to me as someone's interpretation of the character, but not necessarily like official artwork. Would be the best way to describe it. It's, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a big figure guy, but I know what I like, and this one ain't it.
But thankfully, all of that was fixed with the third release, which is probably the best looking Naruto figure we have so far. I know a few people back when they were first released said that Naruto's hair looks a bit short and the faces don't look quite right, but having this figure in hand, I can definitely say it's the best looking Naruto that we have so far. Something about it just screams Naruto to you, and that also goes for the clothes as well. It has the pretty much perfect shade of orange, and while there are some parts of the sculpt that don't quite fit, mostly being the lower part of his jacket, it does look a bit weird when it's not posed. It still looks fairly good even if you have him in a vanilla pose.
I would say with this figure, you have that the baggy aesthetic that you were talking about before is definitely prominent here. The first figure kind of comes across like the Naruto skinny jean version, but like even on this one, if you look at the legs and in the sculpt, like you can almost see like they detailed up the pant leg. Like that's how baggy the pants are. So I think that's definitely a more Naruto vibe. The headband is eerily perfect. Like I mean, they smoked this one. This is definitely it. If I personally had to pick a quintessential version of the Naruto figure, this would be it. Even with the kind of janky feel of the lower body part, it even, now that you said something about the bagginess, it kind of lends itself to that feel. So yeah, this is the one.
So in terms of ranking, for me, the third release, most recent, will be in first. Best Selection will probably be in second, and the first release will be in third, mostly just because of the sort of weird face and the washed out colors.
Yeah, I gotta co-sign that ranking. Like the third release is, I feel like it took them some time, but they finally nailed it. What'd you say, the best selection one? Yeah, that one, it feels very stiff. So yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. It doesn't look quite as clean. Oh man, yeah. No, definitely number two. And the first release, yeah, it's like they released their draft. Like I don't think that one was supposed to hit the market, and then somebody did, and it was too late to fix it.
We have Articulation, and if there's one thing that I can give the first SH Figuarts Naruto, is that it had some pretty good articulation for the time. The only real problem is that the shoulder joint is kind of outdated, like I said, because they sculpted it in a way to get the butterfly joint so you can move his arm forward. It does, again, make the shoulder look a bit weird, and it also makes it a bit hard to actually get the butterfly joint to work, since it's a floating piece that you need to pretty much fiddle with until it sits flush with the articulation for the arms. So yeah, so while that's kind of a problem, it's not the biggest deal breaker. And like I said, it has some pretty good articulation. The drop down hinge for the legs still works, even though it's kind of a outdated method for SH Figuarts. I still think it works pretty well, and you'll see that again with the other figures. The best thing about this figure, for me at least, is the diaphragm joint, also known as the ab crunch. You're able to get a lot of crunch forward and back, which is important for a character like Naruto, and also helps get those dynamic poses you need. So all in all, while having a few issues, the first release had some pretty good articulation, unlike the Best Selection / Sage mode.
Agreed.
The main problem being that the diaphragm joint is so restricted, you can barely get any crunch forward or back. Pretty much you can't do anything with it. I've even seen some people go in and try to mod it so that you can get more articulation, and it's still not enough. And I know they were trying to prioritize the sculpt over the articulation since they wanted a cleaner look for Naruto, but this also hinders him quite literally since you can't move him in the torso at all. And that also goes for the waist joint and even the legs. And this is something that, again, I can give the first release. It had double jointed knees, but it seems that for the Best Selection / Sage mode, they tried to go for this type of Figma joint, and it doesn't quite work since Naruto isn't able to get his legs all the way up. or at least bend that like all the way in. So again, it kind of limits his articulation. The arms are definitely an improvement, but it doesn't seem like enough to justify the poor articulation in the diaphragm joint.
Yeah, we had talked about it briefly before, but like the best selection, I think that's a hilarious name, because when it comes to the articulation, even when you just look at it, you can just see like it feels like a drugstore toy. Like it doesn't feel like an official release toy. The head looks great and everything like that, but like when you try to pose it, you try to move it, one, it feels like it's going to break. Everything you do makes it feel like it's going to break. And then just I don't know, the movement on it really feels like a CVS toy, like one of those old like $5 quick grab toys that you get while your mom's getting a prescription. Like it's a bad look. The first release, you know, the colors didn't work, but at the very least they had the movement right. You know, you can give it the action poses that it needs. You can, you know, I feel like it'd be very easy to recreate more iconic scenes with the first release and of course the latest release. But that middle, man, that best selection, quote unquote, like, that's a rough one, man. They dropped the ball there, and especially to have that, and then 2 years later use the same body for the Sage mode, like, yikes, bad move.
And again, this is where the third and most recent release comes to save the day, since once again it's probably the best in terms of articulation.
Easily.
And the main point I want to get into is the legs, since they don't use the drop-down hinge that we've seen with the other two figures. It's more of a ball joint system that we've seen with some other releases, say the SH Figuarts Gohan, or even their Bodycoon figures. But one thing I really like is the type of ball joint that they went with. For the thigh swivel, if you're brave enough to take it apart like me, you can actually see that there is a ball joint that not only acts as a thigh swivel, but also allows a bit more range in the legs, which, for me at least, kind of reminds me of a Rebel Tech, since that's kind of something that they would do. But it also works really well, and thankfully it's not loose or anything. And that also goes for the ankle, I'll say, since, again, you can take it apart, and it's the same type of ball joint for the legs. And I'll also say that, again, I know the lower part of his jacket looks a bit weird, but once you actually have him posing, it does look pretty good. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, was the pouch, since with most of the figures, the Sage Mode / Best Selection at least, it was a ball joint that attached to the back of his pants. For the third release, it's attached to the jacket, which doesn't quite allow it to move around as much, but at least you'll know it's there so it won't get lost. The one problem I have with this figure, though, comes in the head / neck. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that the neck is actually sculpted so that once you raise the head up so he can look up, the neck is also connected in a sense. But if you try to turn the head, the face tends to pop out because of how it's sculpted. For a quick example, for a character like Sakura, the most recent version, this isn't a problem, but for Naruto, if you're trying to pose him like looking to the side, the face is gonna like squish and morph, and it just doesn't work well for that. I wish they had made it a bit smaller, or just gave him a straight neck so that isn't an issue. But aside from that, it's still probably the best articulated Naruto figure from SH Figuarts.
Yeah, no, I could definitely co-sign that. It feels much more solid. I don't feel like it's going to snap apart. I think it's amazing that there's even detail in the feet. Like, who does that? Like, who goes that far in articulation? Like, it feels solid. It feels like you just have far more options posing this figure than either of the previous two, and combining that with an excellent sculpt, I mean, it's head and shoulders above the other two, without question.
So I think it's fair to say, for rankings, the third release, the most recent, once again, is in first. The first release is in second. And the Sage Mode / Best Selection is in third, just because of how limited it feels.
Yeah. I can't get over that drugstore vibe. Like, it really irks me.
Next up, we have accessories, and this one is probably going to get a little bit confusing. But for the first release, it actually comes with a good batch of accessories. He comes with 3 additional faces, that being a teeth gritting, smiling, and shouting face. He comes with multiple sets of hands, which include grabbing, open palm, jutsus, and even a thumbs up hand. He comes with 2 kunais, and a hand that's used for the Rasengan. And also a pouch, but we're not sure if that really counts. And as far as I know, all this back then was around $50, which for an import figure isn't too bad. When it comes to Sage Mode / Best Selection, this is where things start to get confusing. So I hope you guys can keep up. So the first Sage Mode comes with a angry face looking off to the side and a normal smiling Naruto face. Pretty much the same selection of hands as the first one, except without the thumbs up hand. And a Rasen Shuriken, and a stand that you can use with it. Seems pretty good. But the main problem people had with this figure was the fact that he didn't come with his iconic Sage Mode coat. And I can agree. That's kind of an important part of the Sage Mode look. And I know that technically he did have Sage Mode without the code, as we saw with this fight with Pain. But it's still something that you should just add. And technically they did a few years later.
2 years later. Why would you even bother at that point?
Yeah, and that's another problem when it comes to these 2 Sage Mode figures. Technically, the advanced version comes with everything you would want with a Sage Mode Naruto, which includes the additional arms to complete the Sage Mode look. But at that point, people were already getting third-party cloth coats, so what's the point of getting this new figure if I technically already have what I need? Yes, he does come with just a bit more accessories, that being a normal, serious-looking Naruto face, and a normal Rasengan, but again, it's just not worth it.
Too little, too late.
Yeah, and that's the main problem with these Sage Mode figures. It seems like they were trying to prioritize getting a Sage Mode out for the line, but didn't complete it, and then tried to, but at that point, who would really want it if I already have my Sage Mode Naruto?
You had 2 years to figure out an alternative, and then they release a whole nother figure and expect you to pay that price again. Like, if something is late, it's only late until it comes out. If something's bad, it's bad forever. Just take a little more time, put in the extra effort, and just give us one version of the figure that can work. Doing it like this is almost insulting.
And for the third release, it actually comes with, again, a pretty good batch of accessories. And if I'm being honest, it's kind of on par with the first release. He comes with additional faces, that being a angry or shouting face, a smiling Naruto face, a kind of jokey, shocked face, which I think is pretty appropriate for Naruto.
Absolutely.
And one thing that people have been asking for a lot, a Ninetales angry face. And this is probably my favorite face out of all of them, just because of how good it looks. He also comes with, again, multiple sets of hands, but the only thing he doesn't include is a thumbs up, which is fine. And I will say that the Rasengan that comes with the third release is different from the previous ones. That being, it looks more like an actual ball rather than being kind of like this spiral shape. And I think I might prefer that one more than the other 2.
Looks a little more accurate, I think. The other ones feel like they wanted to add more like chakra effects. It's almost like it's too big with some of the other versions. But on the third release, I feel like they really captured what it's supposed to look like.
And probably the best part about this is that you get all this for around $30 to $40.
Ooh.
And like I said, it's pretty much the same amount of accessories you get with the first release, but it's relatively cheaper. And I decided to save the best for last just because of how funny it is. For best selection, it's probably the one that comes with the least amount of accessories. That being a serious Naruto phase, gripping hands, jutsu hands, 2 kunais, and 1 hand with a Rasengan. Now, yes, I will admit that it was around $20 to $30, so obviously it's not bad for an import figure, but it's just funny because this is called best selection. And I'd say it's best if you want a standard Naruto figure with standard accessories, but the fact he doesn't even come with fists kind of ruins it.
Like, come on, he's a fighter. Like, he's from a shonen anime. You gotta have fists. How are you gonna do the punchy without fists?
I don't know. So, in terms of ranking, I'm tempted to put the third release and the first release at a tie because they have the same amount of accessories and they both work really well. So I think I might actually do that. I'm gonna say it's tied. I know people would probably argue with me on this, but that's just how I feel. I think both come with a good amount of accessories for a fairly decent price. And in that case, second / last place goes to best selection / sage mode because of just how confusing and convoluted giving these figures accessories were.
I personally go with the third release at number 1 because if I had to choose between a thumbs up and a more realistic Rasengan, I would prefer the more realistic Rasengan. So I feel like that's a stronger accessory. Second would be the first release, and of course, traditionally in last place is the quote-unquote best / sage mode. Yeah, it just it's insulting. It's insulting to make a person wait 2 years for something that you should have released from jump. Like, not the way to handle it.
Lastly, we have size in comparison, and this is probably going to be a really short section. For the first release, obviously we have to compare him to characters like Sasuke and Kakashi, and for the time that this figure came out, he looks really good next to both of them. All of them are older figures released around the same time, and they all kind of have the same general feel and look to them, being that more dull, realistic look. So weirdly enough, they all fit together. None of them really look out of place, and in terms of scale, obviously we know that Naruto is a bit shorter than Sasuke, and I'd say this is shown pretty well. He doesn't look too small or too big. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
For sage mode / best selection, take a shot every time I say this.
That was a good one. I should have been doing that.
For the figures around that time, which will probably be characters like Minato, Rock Lee, and the versus Itachi version of Sasuke, once again, it doesn't look too bad. The more slim, more anime accurate look that Naruto has fits well with the more updated look for Sasuke. Probably since that's the version you're going to be pairing him up against. And once again, it doesn't look out of place. They have the same general feel and look to them. The scale for Naruto fits well with Sasuke. You can see why I'm saying this is a short section, because right now we're moving on to the more recent versions.
Right, it's not much to say really. Like,
yeah, which obviously we have to compare him to Sasuke and Sakura, and I will say this is the best looking, mostly because we actually see Team 7 finally completed. That's something we didn't get with the last 2 runs. Yeah. But yeah, the only small thing here is that if you squint at it, Naruto is a bit taller than Sasuke, and I do mean like an inch taller.
Right, the slightest hair taller.
So if you're someone who cares about scale like me, this might bother you, but you know what? I'm not gonna let it bother me. I still think they look pretty good together.
Agreed.
But yeah, in all honesty, in terms of ranking, technically you could put the more recent versions in first place, but I'm gonna have to put them at a draw simply because if you look at when these figures were released and the figures they stack up against, yes, they're all part of the same line, but it's clear that this line has gone through an evolution. And you would have to look at these three figures within their respective little time capsule. So all in all three of these iterations look good with their respective figures.
Yeah, no. I would definitely say they fit the vibe. None of the Naruto's, particularly stands out. I mean, I guess if I was to just to be a jerk, like, I would probably put the third release behind the other two just because that hair difference between Naruto and Sasuke. But yeah, it's really not that big a deal. If you want to be nitpicky about it, you can. But yeah, at least there you can say these figures are pretty equal.
And with that, we come to our conclusion of this Naruto action figure comparison. And I think looking back at all these figures, it's clear to see why people fell in love with the Naruto line and kind of why it died for a bit. For me at least, I was a big fan of the SH Figuarts Naruto line without even owning the figures, honestly. And it wasn't until quite recently, like a few years back, that I got my first official Naruto figure, which was the best selection. And I was so happy to get it because it seemed like there was just a hint of light that the Naruto SH Figuarts line wasn't dead. And technically speaking, I was right. I remember on Instagram there was a whole page dedicated to showing the people who make SH Figuarts, Tamashii Nation, that people care about the Naruto line and wanted to come back. And I'm glad that I was there to experience that, because when I saw that teaser and saw that they were actually bringing back the line, I cannot tell you how fast I pre-ordered those figures. Simply because it seemed like the community had won. They gained something from all their hard work. Maybe it was a coincidence that they decided to bring back the line, but it honestly seems like that Tamashii Nation listened and said, yes, we will bring back the line because of how much people care about it. And I'm glad that they brought back the line with some honestly incredible figures.
I gotta say, I'm not even that big into it, but I love to see any fandom anywhere get a win. Like, you waited so long for this, you wanted this to happen, and you got it. And now you actually get a complete Team 7. Like, that's freaking major right there. So yeah, no, I'm happy for you guys. Like, I'm glad you guys got this win. Full support and thumbs up for that.
And hopefully this isn't where it all stops. We've seen that they're making a new Kakashi figure, and I hope they make other characters that people have asked for forever. Like, hopefully we get characters like Shikamaru, Hinata, Tsunade, even some villains like Zabuza would be great.
Oh my god.
And again, I hope this is a new way for SH Figuarts Naruto figures, since we've seen how well people care about certain lines within SH Figuarts, such as Dragon Ball Z or even the Kamen Rider figures, since those do surprisingly well. I hope it's the same for Naruto, especially everything that they had to go through, they've had to put up with. And I think it's safe to say that if you want a good Naruto figure, just get the most recent version.
Yeah.
I have nothing against the older figures. I've had the best selection for a while, and I even had the first release. Yeah, it was a bootleg, but hell, it was pretty good. But I'd say those are definitely outdated compared to the newer release. But hey, if you're into collecting older figures, if you want to fork over like $80 for the first release, then you do your thing. I can definitely see the appeal of those older figures, but I'm definitely glad that I have this newer version, and I can definitely say it's a pretty good definitive Naruto figure.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't co-sign a purchase of that first one. The articulation is there definitely, but the look of it and even just the accuracy of it, it doesn't have on his leg, it has the bandage wrapping, but it doesn't have the kunai pouch. And it's, you know, it's little details like that just it irks me. I don't know that I could co-sign it. I definitely can't co-sign a purchase of the best selection / sage art, like sage mode. If you're gonna do it, if you have the money, just, I would say, get the third release, get the latest release. It is like you said, it's the definitive version without question. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe they'll do a sage mode version of that, and you know, this way you'll have both versions and you won't have to backtrack to kind of complete a collection or be able to achieve certain looks.
Yeah. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's definitely been a while since I've done an action figure comparison video. I hope I haven't lost that touch. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of these. There are definitely a lot of other anime figures we could talk about.
Facts.
So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Peace.